Good afternoon, I'm Daniel Miller and this is Destiny Academy. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants and viewers worldwide on various platforms. Thank you for joining us today, and of course welcome and thank you for supporting our channel and everything we do here. That includes charitable fundraising as well as all of our community-based activities. I've got to apologize to everyone today because we are experiencing some delays, and they're being caused by PlayStation Network. There have been some issues with the connectivity, and they just had to be happening as I was about to start my stream. So you never know with these things, and we talked about this quite a bit here. As you've seen in the past, we are basically dependent on our internet connection and everything else that is server based. So for instance, if there is no internet connection to the server, we can't be playing Destiny or any other online multiplayer games, and it's a usual topic amongst our community members. Some people prefer the old style gaming where you would just purchase your discs and play them. Others would prefer the online multiplayer, but at the end of the day we are dependent on the tech, and there is absolutely nothing we can do to remedy it if there is a major problem. As we've seen in our local area, we are going down the route of having the 5G internet connection, which in fact is very fast and easily accessible, and I guess it is immune to a degree to the problems that you have with your kind of wired internet. And there are ins and outs, there are pros and cons and pluses and minuses, but as we are carrying on, we are certainly hoping that the tech is going to be evolving, and therefore the problems with such connection could be remedied quicker than, for instance, you had a problem with your cable and then you had to have an engineer come to the property. You know the story. All of that is definitely something that will be long gone and sent to oblivion once the 5G networks are fully operational. And what I'm doing at the moment, I have a this Twitch app is still not allowing me to hear myself. It's really weird because I have a big headset which is insulating me completely from anything in my environment. I can't hear the headset on, and then I can't hear myself either, but I need to listen to myself from the inside of my head. Because of this, the glitch is just absolutely dreadful, and it's been widely reported on Reddit and elsewhere. Anyway, coming back to the new router, it has massively improved the access to better speeds. I have upload speed of about 30 compared to the previous speed of 1. This is obviously very rewarding and much more appreciated. We can see, we can watch streams here on Twitch and elsewhere, which I've launched from my setup with a better quality audio visuals, and that also has been appreciated. So I'm just waiting for 5G to be fully integrated, because the speeds I'm getting are through 4G, and these are not really ideal, they're not as fast, but 5G will be coming to our area within the next 12 months, and we are going to have a major enhancement, of everything. The video the video quality as well as connectivity, upload speeds and everything else. Right, so how's everybody doing? Are you perhaps exploring? I've got to adjust the headset because I can't hear myself. This is so ridiculous. I really have a problem with this. It's very disconcerting because you can actually hear from yourself from inside of your head, and thanks Twitch and rules and more impositions and more idiotic types of terms and conditions imposed upon us today. I'll tell you about it in a moment, because obviously they've gone really completely mad about the huge hole which is obviously building within their coffers, and they're trying everything possible to monetize. So what's the big deal in applying subscription? I don't understand it. They're probably worried that they will lose 50 or 70 million customers worldwide due to this, but I pay subscription to all the other services, and it's fair and square that if you're using something that is streaming various games through the servers, that you have to pay for it, and therefore the same problems will not be occurring. I mean, obviously it's a topic for another day, but I find it ridiculous that every single day I'm getting more and more from Twitch indicating that they will be monetizing something else. I'll tell you about this as we crack on with the news in a bit, but coming back to what we're doing at the moment. I mean, first of all, I'd like to hear from our friends and fans and people who are viewing the stream on what you're doing at the minute, which means what games are you playing on what platform, what are you finding of interest, and also are you perhaps enjoying the Steam Festival, which is presently offered for everyone who's on PC, and enjoying the first year celebration of PlayStation Plus, that is. We are having a major selection of events and benefits and rewards and everything else which are given to us in view of that 12-month anniversary. So hopefully you're enjoying it, hopefully you're finding something of interest, and if you combine PlayStation together with Xbox and PC, quite frankly we are simply spoiled for choice. There are so many different things and different games and all sorts of titles and projects and vidocs and everything else that we can watch. It is just absolutely amazing, and quite frankly, like I said yesterday and in my recent streams, we do see that very many people who previously would be watching Netflix and Amazon Prime and go to cinema are migrating to these forums, which are video gaming based, and the other guys are losing customers. So there is a huge uproar in our community. But I've got to say that they must have been like enjoying their winter sleep. What on earth were they doing for the last 5-6 years? I mean, we've had a pandemic, we've had some other serious liabilities and threats emerging, inclusive of the cost of living crisis and everything else. But what on earth were you expecting? If you could see for the last 6 or 7 years that people are enjoying this form of communication, evidently, unless you're allowing people to be streaming films through Twitch, YouTube, and other instantly accessible platforms, you are going to be losing customers, because it's all about the comms. It's about communication, it's about connectivity, it's about making new friends, finding out what people are like elsewhere around the world, and that is part and parcel of what people enjoy doing the best today. That's the sole reason as to why people are doing various things on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, because they have that degree feel they're talking directly to either the broadcaster or their community members, and they are creating new friendships, bonds, links. They talk about different things. There are lots of discussions live online where everyone can just step in, and that is very, very appealing. It's a new form of communication. Many people are just finding out about how everything works, but as we are getting the instant access to cloud-based services, there are many more people able to access all of this literally through their mobile phone, and in no time we'll have a full integration of video gaming in such way for which we are not going to be needing consoles for extra equipment. Obviously that will be optional, because the quality of the picture and everything else will be much superior if they were to be streamed or played through that tech. But as we've seen with Microsoft and with PlayStation, they have cloud-based services that are delivering the games and the playability in real time, and the quality is acceptable. It's not exceptional, it's certainly much poorer compared to what we have on consoles and PCs. Today, once that develops, we are going to have much better quality delivery, and everyone will be able to step in, because the idea is make it accessible for everyone everywhere. That's the creed, that's the future, that's the idea that certainly Microsoft is striving towards. So I can tell you certainly I've enjoyed Steam Festival. I've downloaded 6 demos, and we have more than 100 to try. They're all kind of time limited, and it's a bit nonsensical really, trying to really coerce as many people as possible to do 10-15 minutes per demo, and the ones I selected are the ones that caught my eye as I've gone to the whole list, and I'm quite certain that lots of other demos will be transpiring eventually. It's just the idea that they want to attract as many customers as possible to see what's on and what is coming to Steam and Epic, and therefore you'll try it. And they're also running live presentations through the developers. You have very many being displayed every single day, 24/7. So if you're interested, just step in, have a look, and enjoy what is on offer. I'm certain that it will be giving you a lot of interesting entertainment, and you will be discovering very obscure titles you never heard of. I have to say, some of those are really amazing. You know, I discover these games every single day, and hear people creating them, a small team of 2 or 3 producing a game that looks absolutely tip-top, AAA and polished. It's just staggering. I watched the other day, what was it? It was one of the latest Xbox podcasts, and they talked about this game which takes place in Austria, and there was a couple who created it, and the game looks incredible, you know, and it also tackles some elements of Austrian history. It's sort of located in the mountains, in the Alps. So you know, all these elements of what you know about Austria are present in the game, and it's amazing that 2 people created it. You know, I just find that astonishing. And the game is very interactive, very engaging, full of different types of trivias, and you know, highly enjoyable at the end of the day. So the games offered on Steam at the moment are giving you the opportunity to try out all these demos, and the games will be coming out within the next 6 to 18 months, so there's quite an abundance of titles. I don't think all of them are just PC games. You'll have numbers of titles, like for instance Lies of P, that will be released also on other platforms, so it's worth catching some of it. Even if you don't want to play the demos, you can just check. You can basically step in and then watch some of the presentations or trailers or anything else that's in any case live online, and you will be certainly enhanced by the knowledge, and you will be driven towards these titles in the near future. So most highly recommended. So that's Steam, and I can tell you I've got, trying to think, 5 are downloaded, and I'll tell you tomorrow about the titles, because I'm hoping to play these over the weekend. They all will be gone allegedly on Monday, so we'll wait and see, but I'm hopeful that lots of these demos will you know, pop back in yet again in the future once the festival is done and dusted, and we are going to be able to try the games, because at the end of the day, what's the purpose, you know, if the demos are not accessible at other times. The other big celebration at the moment, which is a bit lengthier, it will be stretching over a period of about 10 days, is the one celebrating the 1st anniversary of the new PlayStation Plus. So it's the new format. It is... Oh, we have Eric Coronado following us. Thank you, Eric Coronado. Thank you for watching, and thank you for following us, and indeed for becoming our new community member. Thank you for that. Our community is promoting ethical gaming. We are also running charitable fundraising campaigns, and everything that happens on the channel is basically community based. So everything from the content to our discussions and activities, it is a very friendly, very amicable, very all-inclusive type of community that we have of Destiny gamers. We don't run competitions. We don't do anything which is abrasive. It's all sort of family friendly, all out friendly towards anyone. And also, what's important is that the channel has been created in order to support those people from our gaming community who are feeling a bit vulnerable, people who are feeling a bit alone, perhaps on the fringe, but also feeling not included, or people who experience some form of emotional or mental health difficulty, people who experience maybe some issues through their online activity in gaming and elsewhere. So really a kind of a supportive forum for everyone, whoever wants to come in and who wants to be receiving that degree of assistance. So thank you. I want to thank our new member, Eric Coronado, for joining our community. Much appreciated, and we obviously hope to see you again in the future. And if you wish to participate in our live online discussions, you must read the terms and conditions. You've got to be subscribing to what's there, in addition to, well, the terms and conditions are aligned with what Twitch is giving us, so it is very strict. And as you could see, certainly in recent weeks, in view of the new regulation and the laws which have been prepared both in the UK and in America, these companies are taking more significant steps to restrict what is being displayed, or indeed control what is being given or sold. to various online streaming platforms, and I'm getting some information about this every single day, and I'll talk about this in a bit as far as Twitch is concerned. In fact, they're really jumping the gun, because in this instance, when you stream through online, when you stream through consoles, you do not have the same setup, like for instance if you are streaming through your PC, and there are lots of things which you need to fill in when you're streaming through your PC. You can use OBS as an external third-party platform for that, and you sort of fill in the details. So for instance, they come up yesterday, or was this week, that every stream needs to be classified in terms of what is being offered, right? But it does have mature content, but it has this and the other. It's a whole selection. It's about 10 different types of classifications that you need to be including. But if you're streaming off your console, you can't actually enter that because there isn't space. The actual form that you get before you start your stream does not include this. So what are you to do? You can't adjust. I mean, I've got obviously my laptop and I'm watching the stream on the laptop as my secondary. So I've got 3 different monitors in here, basically. Three displays identical to what you have sometimes when you see some of the top streamers. They've got the game on one, chat on the other, and the actual check of the live stream on the third one, which is the standard setup for anyone who's streaming, because you need to have the control of the both of them all. And so as this is a family-friendly, all-inclusive, amicable, friendly channel, I have no issues, and it's not classified as mature or anything of that sort. However, I have 2 moderators who monitor the content, and also in addition to that, I have very strict rules in terms of what is being said live online and what can be seen as contribution, and that is obviously highly restrictive. If people want to be ranting, we talk about politics, want to swear, well, that is not acceptable in here. We don't do any of it, and we are running a channel that is focused on attention giving to those who are in the need, providing support, assistance, be it within the actual gaming, when you want to achieve something within a game, like for instance get an exotic weapon here in Destiny, or whether you want to be asking for assistance because you're feeling alone, vulnerable, slightly isolated, or experiencing any other problem in your everyday life. So as such, it is literally all out inclusive. It is friendly towards everyone, and I have no issues with that classification. But technically I find it ridiculous, because they'll enforce it. They will be doing it through algorithms and AI, and those people who are streaming to their consoles, if they aren't careful enough, will face suspensions, bans, and so it's but I know they're panicking. They know that the new laws are coming, and certainly in Britain we've got this new online regulation. It's called an online bill, I think, that's been debated in Parliament. It's very restrictive, and it will be holding certain companies, the private companies that run such platforms, liable in case of any incidents or any major misappropriations, and they will be, by law, needing to take steps in order to prevent that from taking place. Otherwise, they could be, technically penalized or shut down if the incidents start to be occurring. So I guess one of the biggest issues in here is the issue of online abuse or bullying, as we've seen with competitive gaming and the games like PUBG, Warzone, Apex, or any competitive game. In fact, you will get unwarranted comments coming in through the chat, or indeed through online matchmaking and dialogue, which is live online, where people get really abused by certain individuals who are absolutely careless, disrespectful, and criminal, in fact, by what they say and what they do. And really, this channel is promoting ethical gaming, and we want to be making sure that everyone who comes in will be always feeling supported. And also, if we were to be getting anybody of that sort coming in through random matchmaking, which is very unlikely in Destiny, but other games will have this, then we will take steps within our community to prevent that person from being able to access any platform at any time. And the way to do that is, if you have quite a few viewers and they can see somebody doing this, all of them have got to report this person to the game developer and to the streaming platform at the same time, which means those 2 entities will get like 30 messages at once reporting this person. and that will be picked up by the algorithm. It'll be like a red flag waved, and then somebody, an individual, a person who works for the safety team, will look at it. And once they look at it, they will see what the content is. It is basically still down to the numbers. If it's like a one-off report, then this is the algorithm looking at it. If you've got 30 reports coming at once, then they will be considering it. And then if it's a ban, which is like a permanent ban, applied by somebody who indeed had verified that the content was acceptable, that is irreversible. That's permanent forever. Obviously, people can try to do different things with accounts and the change of equipment, IPs, but the tech is catching up. And like with Microsoft, we've seen they have very, very sophisticated algorithms that detect the change of the IP or anything else indicating that this is the same person, and they will not be able to access it from another piece of equipment or from elsewhere. I'm not sure how to do it, but I have watched the documentary and a couple of podcasts which indicated that this is indeed being fully developed, and it will be applied across the board. So as we carry on, there will be many more safety measures present, and I think this is all right and proper. I'm very, very happy that we are getting indeed that degree of assistance from the corporations, because the way it's been is unacceptable. And the games have not been created for people to be bullying others, creating problems and all this. The games have been created in order for us to get good entertainment, to feel relaxed, to enjoy our free time, and also, most importantly, to forget about the ills of the world, because we have so many difficulties in everyday life to do with the cost of living, with threats of homelessness, with the problems with at work, and people experiencing pressures and duress within their mental health, and in all sorts of areas of life we are under severe pressure. It's all about getting that money to pay the bills and not feeling supported enough. So therefore the games are here for people to just feel completely relaxed, entertained, and most importantly, the online multiplayers are here for us to make new friends, to make connections, to help others, to find the new ways to which we are going to be enjoying ourselves and indeed forgetting about those problems. So that's the bottom line. If you want to play Apex and you get somebody who starts to harass you, starts swearing at you, cause you problems, you are going to be feeling very, very unhappy. And that's why we are having these forums, right? So it's right and proper that both our communities and the corporates are taking steps to eliminate completely such individuals, because they wouldn't do this in real life. They wouldn't go to a pub and start bellowing and abusing somebody face to face, because they know there will be immediate consequences. And we call them keyboard warriors, people who are quite happy to be doing that sort of thing, thinking they're anonymous. But you know what? Nobody's anonymous anymore on the internet, and you can be detected immediately if there is a need. So don't think that you can hide behind your user ID or any sort of anonymous type of name that you're using there. We will be able to find out who you are if you're abusing others or causing problems or doing something which is illegal, and you will be punished. Alright, so I've just digressed a bit because I could see that we have some new members coming in to our community. Important to introduce them to what we do here, which is called ethical gaming and Xbox ambassadorship, as well as gaming for mental health. I'm very proud to be a member of all these communities. I've been doing so for quite some time. Coming back to PlayStation celebrations. PlayStation celebrations are here after 1 year of the new service being in existence, and as a person who's been using the streaming services already for more than 8 years, I'm really very pleased with the change. I'm a bit sort of concerned about the price because it's a bit more expensive compared to what we had in the past, but I think the value compared to what I was getting a few years back is certainly much greater, and I'm very happy with the way the whole service works on the technical front. Firstly, we have many more games that are downloadable, so that is a huge benefit to the gamers. Secondly, we can check out almost every one of those through instant streams, and that makes it easier for us to just get a flavor of the game. Don't have to download the whole thing. You can be just having a look, and if you like the game, you can download it and play it. A very good way to which we can be walking to the titles. And don't forget, the catalogs are very lengthy. PlayStation, I think, has more than 700 titles presently, and With Xbox, we are talking about more than 400. So altogether, combined, you have more than 1,000 titles to get through. Obviously, it is impossible to do everything, to play every one of the games, but you can, through those streaming services, get a flavor of those that you really like, and you will be discovering the games you've never heard of that will be highly entertaining. In fact, yesterday I discovered one, I forgot the title now. It's a brand new game that is offered through Xbox Game Pass. I've never heard of the game, but it's anime style Japanese RPG that is beautiful and hilarious and dialogue driven. It's just wonderful. I never heard of a game before, and I've tried it because I was trying to complete my daily and weekly quests, and these daily and weekly quests are contributing to my Microsoft rewards points, and I claim those in order to have my Ultimate subscription delivered free of charge every single month. So it's just like a very good concept through which you are exploring the new titles that previously you've not heard of or you've not noticed, because you want to be getting the rewards points in order to have your Ultimate for free, right? So it's a very good, very carefully considered and built activity that initially I disliked because I thought, they were just pushing me to do what I don't want to be doing. But actually, it's not quite like that. It is drawing your attention to the games that otherwise you would not notice, and you are then picking up on the titles and enjoying some of the new content. And I've got to say, through doing so for the last sort of 6 or 8 months, I had discovered very many titles that previously I simply would have not noticed. I recommend to everyone, in fact. And on PlayStation, the system is not quite the same. They're trying to introduce these sort of PlayStation points, and you can claim that eventually you can redeem it for some rewards, but it's not as well integrated, so it's obviously something they're still working on. On PlayStation, what I quite like is access to trailers, and you have the new games being thrown in. So you click on a tab saying the latest editions, and you can just literally enter one of those, click on the trailer, which is you flick your direction button up, and then watch the trailer. So you decide on whether you want to check out the title directly through the streaming services or whether you want to download. So it's very easy to find out what is on offer, and PlayStation, I have to say, have got a very, very good algorithm detecting different types of recommendations, and I think it's very nicely presented. With Xbox, you get very many, so you're sort of a bit snowed under with the number of titles. But the PlayStation, it's more selective, and it gives you nice animation and kind of good stills and screenshots of certain games, and they really draw attention. Plus, they have the selection according to genres, and it just works well. It's much improved. The biggest benefit of being a member of PlayStation Plus services today, if you go for the premium, is that you're getting access to so-called game trials. So game trials are, I guess, a bit dicey. Some games will offer you 5 to 8 hours, and some games will just go like a couple of hours for you to try. Nevertheless, even if you have a couple of hours to try, you will still get a good flavor. Use the AAA blockbuster, big game that is not offered within the subscription services, and that is a fantastic benefit, because you can just simply step in, try the game, and think about it. Let's say you're at work, you come back home, you have a look, and you've seen that 2 or 3 new games have been offered on the trials, and as you're having a cup of tea or having a bit of dinner, you can simply try this game and enjoy the activity there, finding out for yourself whether you'll play it or purchase it in the future. Great stuff, and I really love it. In addition to that, they rotate many more games than Xbox, so you'll have like 20 titles disappearing and 20 titles coming in. I guess if I'm to go down the route of PC Gamer, they'll tell you PlayStation Plus services are offering you lots of Japanese games that previously were inaccessible in Europe, and I think that indeed is truly remarkable. And for anyone who likes Japanese style games, there will be quite an abundance of titles, and you can just step in and explore. Some titles that previously were inaccessible in Europe will be easily played on PlayStation Plus Premium. So make sure you check out some of these titles if you are a fan of Japanese anime style games, or indeed RPGs or anything else. You will know that PlayStation will always be proprietary to Final Fantasy, so always have many more Final Fantasy titles on Sony's platform compared to Microsoft's, and they always will be there. Resident Evil and all the other ones have lots of exclusives, which are again instantly accessible for me, Horizon Zero Dawn, one of the best and the biggest. Then you have God of War as well, the whole series. You know, it's a no-brainer. If you pay the money for your annual subscription or for your monthlies, you are going to be getting a very good service with plenty of titles, and you know, they will continue to compete. Sony and Microsoft were competing already for 25 years, and as you've seen, the competition is hotting up. They really want to be making sure that the services are exclusive to them and that people are coming to their platform because they want to play such games which are accessible through what they have. But I agree with that. It is a separate matter, but that's the way it is. And I have to say that I mean, on balance, it appears to be, that's not my personal opinion, but that what sort of comes across from the gaming community, PlayStation's winning. The overall feeling in the community is that PlayStation is producing many more exclusives that are having that degree of attraction, of high quality, that retain longevity that is required. Whether or not is an open question, but I think I enjoy both platforms tremendously, and certainly the PlayStation services are now celebrating the first year, and if you enjoyed the service, then definitely step in and try out a few of those things. You have some competitions, they have some quizzes, they have some games which are offered free of charge. This weekend, I nearly forgot to say, and that already had started last night, they have free access to the multiplayer. You don't have to pay anything. So if you're on PlayStation and you do not pay your subscription for PlayStation Plus, you can just step in, play any multiplayers, all free until sometime on Monday, etc, etc. So definitely a very, very good time for everyone to enjoy their services. And I have to say, I'm really quite astonished by the sheer quantity of activities offered during this summer. It kicked off with Jeff's Summer Game Festival, and immediately after, on the tail of that, we had the Steam Game Festival, and there are other ones that will be coming up in the near future. What was the one I've seen today? There will be Square Enix showcase soon. We have Bungie doing the Destiny in August, and the list just goes on and on. So the best thing to do is, I mean, if you don't want to be browsing to the internet, subscribe to my Twitter, because I keep posting continuously the latest state-of-the-art last-minute news coming from the industry, and you'll be able to get to know exactly all the dates and times for the betas, for the alphas, for the demos, and also all of these events. I'll also talk about them here live online, but it is much easier just to click and then flick through some of the postings in order to get that information. I kind of curate the news because I'm getting a lot of the news every single day. The first thing I do in a day when I wake up is look through what's come in overnight, and then I select those which I consider to be of the greatest interest. I need to say that these news are not just of interest to me, because there are games that sometimes I post there that are really of no interest to me whatsoever, but I know that there will be interest within the community, and that will be always seen as very, very beneficial to everyone. So just click on that follow on that Twitter profile of mine, which is Daniel Miller Gaming Dialogue, and you'll be able to get all the news and every single day. I think what's important is for people to know when you get betas and alphas and to try out new games. That's always greatly enjoyable, as people get excited about new Final Fantasy or Diablo, you know, any other ones. And then the dates are important. There's so many dates, and it's so difficult to catch up with everything. But I think because it's an industry that is new, energetic, vibrant, and constantly developing, it's a true joy to be being fully part of it. It's a bit like being back to the 1930s in Hollywood when they began establishing the big studios and they came up with the rules and systems where the whole of the industry was massively industrialized. It's exactly the same thing. It's just in a different industry, and the interest that people have for video gaming production is is really quite extraordinary. And also the number of people are getting involved, from voice actors through people who are doing the animations, graphic designers, production teams, musicians, people working on soundtracks. Even small indie games have really absolutely amazing soundtrack, The reason for that is they obviously bank on the distribution and licensing, and it's very easy to detect who's going to be watching where at what time. So it is providing huge number of opportunities, and for someone who's seen very many artists in the 80s squatting and literally having 10 pence to the name, so many people in the industry, or I should say from that section of creative arts, have been involved in video gaming, and all of them are working day and night, and there are new job opportunities globally, and you can work from home, and you can work for a company that is based in Japan or US. It is incredible. The opportunities that have actually risen have never been previously considered, because in the past you could just do some paintings and sculpting and do a bit of your own art, and no one wants to look at it, and there were no spaces for those creative works to be exhibited, and it's just a completely different story, completely different mindset, and different opportunities and different era. And as we've seen, that I personally think that in no time we'll have museums opening in which you will be having concept art from various games. Think about the games like Destiny or The Last of Us or Elder Scrolls. The quantity of phenomenal works that were contributing literally throughout all the years, and that were given to the publisher and the developer by so many different graphic design artists, is astonishing. I mean, I at one stage I was collecting the storyboards and concept art related to lots of different games, and then I was posting them on the Instagram, and it was mind-boggling. It's just such beautiful works, and you could see, for instance, with Destiny in particular, if you go to my Instagram and go back in time, you will see how the game actually evolved. It did take about 5 years for the game to get to this shape, from the original storyboards and sketches to concept art, and then finally animations. And it is truly remarkable. It really is a sort of works that I adore, and feel are definitely deserving to be in museums and presented as very high quality creative works and art, whether people like it or not. And that is the future. That is the way I see it, and I'm quite certain that will materialize, and all the other forms of art will remain, but the interest for interactivity and for these forms will indeed be persevering. And also, I'll tell you one thing: if you watch film Her with Joaquin Phoenix, or Joaquin Phoenix, depending on how you want to pronounce his name, and Scarlett Johansson, or Johansson, if you were to go down the American route, you have her as a female AI that lives on a server, and him accidentally discovering her and then falling in love with her. So I think the future of the gaming and the future of this degree of interactivity will probably go down that route, which will be based on artificial intelligence and characters, like Cortana in Halo, or Alexa now with Amazon, because that is the way things are progressing, and that is the future. And I'll be quite curious to hear or what people expect and what people think might be happening, because it will be quite interesting to see, well, somebody living in a remote area, somebody who feels very alienated, can presently connect with us and talk to us live online. But think about it: you buy such devices and they'll talk to you like people, and they'll be incredibly knowledgeable. You kind of build relationships with them, albeit they will not be people. They'll be artificial intelligence. They'll be a device, but so advanced that they could really provide you with lectures. They can you on history, that can tell you about politics. That I watched a documentary a few weeks ago with the one of our leading scientists. He's a British scientist who worked in the US on the AI for quite a few years, several decades in fact, and he was explaining the threats and liabilities and the benefits of the whole system. And he said, well, I'm deciding not to be participating at the moment before we come up with some regulation, as the whole field is marred with inconsistencies and potential problems unless properly regulated, and of course dangers and threats as you're developing artificial intelligence that can be applied in various areas of education, industry and science, medicine, politics, you name it, military. And he said, just Excuse me, my voice is going. Bear with me, I have to drink something. Always have a nice hot drink near me if my voice is cracking, thanks to the heat which is out there. Actually not that hot here today. Today has been cool here indoors because guess what, it was a bit cloudy, so you get all that sun hitting the building all day long, and we had some rain overnight, which was very refreshing. I slept so well. I woke up feeling really happy, enthusiastic and well rested and with lots of ideas and everything, and that's not the way I felt now for several weeks. So I was really relieved and encouraged by that experience. Hope we get some rain at night, so leave my window open and then get some fresh air coming in. Helps my sleep, my dreams and the overall process of rest, which indeed I am then experiencing as I wake up. Nothing worse than waking up in the morning feeling really haggard and feeling really kind of under some sort of pressure and feeling like you've not slept. You could hear this individual who is working here in the building is yet again cutting, yet again drilling, yet again creating noise, and it's literally upsetting every single inhabitant of this building, but there's absolutely nothing we can do because there was some required maintenance to be done here with roofing and a few other things. I live in a heritage property, and you know, these old properties, they always have some problems, and I told him not to be doing this within certain hours when I'm doing live streams, but he's just completely oblivious to this. On the other hand, I've got to be reasonable. He does have his deadlines, and there are pressures coming from people who are the owners of the building, and he's got to be able to do it. So hopefully you're not being as disturbed as myself through what I can hear through my mic, because I can hear it really very loudly, and he's doing it yet again outside of my window. And I asked him not to do it there, but you know, he's just not bothered and keeps doing the same thing like yesterday. Let me just see exactly what he's doing. Just a moment. Cutting something on my front doors is ridiculous. Right, so where was I? Yeah, we talked about artificial intelligence and all this, and the professor, the scientist who worked on this for 30 plus years, he said something that really connected with me. He said, just think about a room at university where you have 30 students listening to a lecturer. Every one of them will have a different type of attention span. Some will be focused on the lecture because they're interested in a subject. They'll listen to whatever's being said. Others perhaps will be thinking of Friday nights, girls, boys, you name it, and their mind will not be connecting, so they'll just soak up a tiny fragment of what's being said. Overall, we are not going to be able to take in every single word or every single thing that's said, and the overall understanding will be based on our own ability to reason, to digest, to take certain thoughts on board, and also to follow the lecture with its narrative and, you know, the subject. So he said, think about 30 AI devices placed in there, and they listen to what is being said. Not just that they are taking in everything that's said, they're assimilating and soaking up literally every single letter of what is being pronounced. And if you want them to repeat that afterwards, they will do exactly that. And the whole selection of them would have taken on board exactly the same knowledge, which means they can tell you in depth on every single bit which has been presented with such accuracy that is astonishingly great. So that stuck with me. You know, just think about this. The capacity for knowledge and for development coming out of that is incredible. It is mind-boggling. It is incomparable with anything else seen in human history. If you want to apply that to something which is good, producing educational results, producing something for the benefit of humanity, it will be phenomenally successful. But if you want to do something bad with it, well, it will be equally successful, but on the bad side of things. And that is what is indeed very, very frightening. So one way or the other, we'll need to wait and see, and I certainly hope that the politicians and people from the scientific community will step in first before the financiers come in, because guess what, people with the money, they will want as little regulation as possible and as quick process of ascending as this would be accessible to them and others, and therefore there could be some difficulties. As we know, a lot of regulation is always seen as a huge obstacle for major investments, and which I can understand, because if somebody is investing the private capital into something, they will want to see that this is being worthwhile, that will bring them certain returns. But the difficulty arises if somebody becomes a bit sort of overly ambitious with this and wanting to have too much at once and to at all. Well, certain things are dangerous. You know, there are certain things that should not be done, and there need to be safety measures, precautions, and all other kinds of things applied. If we can see that by applying something to certain sections of our society, we are going to be causing threats, problems, difficulties, deaths, or you name it, you know, liabilities. So therefore, I think it needs to sort of slow down a bit. We need to, you know, have a second. Take a deep breath, have a second thought, and then decide on how this whole thing could be regulated. Anyway, I digressed a bit. What I want to tell you is, first of all, we've had a very, very good community-based session yesterday. We had 2 people joining us who are brand new community members. The golden oldies have not been coming in as frequently. I don't know why, because after 2 weeks live on air, they probably would have seen, unless they switched off their alerts, that Destiny was back on, and we are alive, healthy and well, and doing exactly the same thing like what we've done in the past for about 5 years. But I'm very grateful to our friends UTC Girl and Zenith for coming in. We've had a first big proper community-based live online session, and we've gone through Nightfall and various Siva strikes. It was very, very enjoyable, so I'm hoping that we'll have the same thing today and on every other day, and hoping that other people will join us as well with our live online activity. And sadly, Destiny 1 is not cross-platform, so unlike in the sequel, I can't bring in those members of our community who are on Xbox or PC, but still within our PlayStation community we are going to be able to get quite a few, because there are very many Destiny PlayStation gamers both in the US and worldwide. And also noticed on the stats that the vast majority of people who are viewing the channel and people who are contributing are from the US, and 87% of the overall viewers are watching the stream on their handset, which is either Android or iOS, i.e. iPhone or any other smartphone. So that's really quite interesting. Even 2 years ago that was not the case. The majority of people were watching the streams on PC. So something has changed during the pandemic, and I think this is very, very significant in view of the cloud access and the fact that we can really play games now on our mobile phones, which are console based. So that's really a major shift, and also the reason as to why people are watching us on smartphones is that very frequently they're also doing their own game. So they will be playing Destiny or any other game and then watching and listening to the stream, and all that's being said alongside, which is really truly wonderful, and I'm very grateful to everyone who does that, because it is of a huge significance to me, and obviously displaying that degree of appreciation in terms of what content I provide, because I talk quite a lot and I have lengthy introductions and we have a lot of community-based content. So my streams are not about hammering the games, they're all about interactivity, communication, and you know, news, all that we need to say in order to share what we know with other community members. Right, so I'm trying to think what else we had which is community based. Well, I think the best thing to do is, I told you quite a bit about the current activities. I mean, first of all, make sure that every single weekend, this one inclusive, if you're on Xbox, you engage with the freebies. There are free games offered every single weekend. I told you yesterday that Conan is one of those. I'm trying to think what the other two games were. One of those, in fact, I looked at yesterday. You have two sections of Conan, and one is similar to the mods that were applied to Skyrim, which means some of the guys in there will come across as mature, or they will not be like fully clothed, and so that's quite interesting. I've not tried these mods before, and anyone who is into Conan could really apply it and find out for yourself. It's a freebie for the whole weekend, kicked off last night, and there are two other games also offered. We'll tell you what the games are in a moment. Just bear with me a second. Got them on the news. There we are. So free play days are every weekend on Xbox, and what's good is frequently, well, for all of us who are on the Ultimate, it's no fun if all three games come off the Game Pass, because we can access them in any case. But last weekend we had 4 games that were not on the Game Pass, and they were definitely interesting and worthy of our attention. And this week we have 2 games that are on Game Pass. So that's Conan Exiles. As I said, you get the mods which you can download. It's like a DLC for which they'll walk around semi-clothed. I mean, sometimes they'll look naked, but there won't be any form of obscenity or anything of that sort, considering that it takes place in sort of prehistoric times and ancient times, whatever, ancient kingdoms. Then you have Football Manager 2023, which is one of the most popular games on Xbox and PC, where you actually can train yourself to become a manager of a club that basically plays in Premier League. So you do everything from scratch, and it's an amazing game. It's a very proper tactical strategy game where you learn about ins and outs of everything with the management of today. So, you know, if you are a child and if you are playing this from the age of 8 to 10, who knows, maybe in 10 years you'll be another Pep Guardiola, maybe you'll be Thomas Tuchel, you never know, or Carlo Ancelotti, one of the biggest coaches of all times. Just make sure that you learn the ins and outs, because what's in the game is identical to what you have in real life, so it's properly educational as well as tactical and strategic. So it's those two, and there is Manual Samuel, right? I've never heard about this game, never played it, but it certainly looked like an interesting indie game. So these are the games for you, which you can try for free on Xbox this week, and absolutely, if you're interested, you can download, and if you are on Xbox Ultimate subscription, 2 of these games are instantly playable through the cloud services. So either way, you can just check them out, have a look, and make sure you do that, because at the end of the day, the services like free weekends are offered for people to try games. If, for instance, the numbers of people who are attempting to play them is going to be significantly dropping, then they will discontinue the services, because I see there's no interest. And I find it really, I would find it astonishing if the gaming community would be declining such offers, because for so many years we had to be paying for the games at all times, and suddenly we got this opportunity to first of all play games on subscription, which is not possible in the past, and then secondly to have freebies, like for instance with Steam, 100 demos within a week. It's astonishing. Just try it, and no harm. You come back to it eventually, and you will be able to experiment with these games, make a list, and then once the game's out, you can purchase them or play them on subscription. So depending on where the games are indeed going to be. You can see our friend was sending us a message. I wasn't able to read the message, so let me see what he says. It's our friend Zenith from the US, and let me just dig this up on PlayStation app. Bear with me. We are about to get into the news, so just bear with me. I won't be hammering the game as yet. The messages. Our friend Zenith says hello to everyone. Hello to Zenith. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching the stream and sending us a message. And our friend says, I'm on now and available if you'd like to team up again. I'm just listening to your stream and chilling in the tower currently. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for listening to me, and indeed for watching the stream. We have this stream delivered through many different platforms, so there are always viewers and community members coming in from all ends, and it's always surprising to me when I hear, oh, I watched you on this platform and that platform, and I was not even aware of that being accessible through that platform that I've never heard of. But that's the way things are today. And also streaming through Stream Elements and Lightstream, and have their own internal systems to which they promote streams for people to watch through a variety of different less well-known platforms. So that's great. And I was surprised to see that we've had some new community members who are actually not watching us on Twitch, and have gone to Twitch in order to become our regulars. So that's terrific. Anyway, I want to say to our friend Zenith, I will bring you in, yes, but this will not be immediate, because I have to be still going through the news and some community-based content. So if you want to crack on with some activity by yourself, that's fine, and I will ping you a message. Or if you're listening to the stream, you'll be able to hear when I'm just about to start with the gameplay. So that will be in probably about 25-30 minutes or so, and then we'll do a lot of it. And I was also wondering, and I want to ask you, do you also play Destiny 2? Because I currently need 2 squads to be fully available for Destiny 2, because I have seasonal content every single week, and Sekapupu told me that he is a bit sort of tied up on certain days, and he was usually my pal who would be doing the seasonal content. We do it together every single Wednesday, but I've not been able to do that of late, so I'm wondering if you're playing also the sequel. Just let me know, because if you are, then we can swing at times, and maybe our friend Ali from New Zealand, who's also doing Destiny at the moment, also watching the stream, maybe also UTF Girl, can also migrate to the sequel, so we can have, I'd like to have like at least 3 to 4 teams, and then if people come in, we can just have like 90 minutes per team, then other people come in, so we have a regular turnaround. Yeah, cool. Zenith is telling us that he is indeed playing Destiny 2. That's terrific. Yeah. We'll maybe what we'll do is we'll sort of maybe schedule it and plan for it through the app, through the messaging before I get on the stream, because I can plan then maybe for a certain day to have 5-hour stream. We'll do a bit of Destiny 1. We do maybe a couple of strikes, Save Us a Nightfall, and then we migrate to the sequel, do the weekly content, and other bits and pieces. Always something to do in Destiny 2. It's just a vast content, and we can do it like this. And also the thing is, if for instance I want to do something which is Lightfall related, then I can migrate to Xbox Series S. The only problem there is that the sound on our friend says that sounds really good. Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's one big Destiny universe, and like I said, we always have been migrating from one to the other, although many of our members are preferring the original game compared to the sequel. So I've basically gone down this route to keep the original game as the main one, but in the sequel there is a lot to do. And I've got to say, when I stream Destiny 1, Destiny 2 suffers because I don't have that much time otherwise afterwards to be doing it, and then I miss out on some of the content, and I kind of enjoy the seasons. I enjoy what is being offered every single week and some of the grinds, and I do not enjoy playing Destiny 2 by myself. I like having other people fully involved, because it is a game created for a multiplayer environment, be it for a 3-piece or 6-piece, and that is when it gets really enjoyable. You really experience the excitement about certain activities, and quite frankly it's also much easier to complete certain exotic quests and tasks if one is doing it with others, so that should be always the priority for everyone. Okay, let's have a look at the news. Also, I just want to tell you before we crack on with the news, there was a question coming in the other day, what games are you playing? And I told everyone that at the moment I'm playing Mass Effect Andromeda, which I never finished in the past, and I want to really get to the very end of the game. It's a massive big game, it's about 150 hours if you're doing just the basics, and I'm doing quite a number of other games which are not very well known, and one of them is called Dardun, or Dodon, or I should pronounce it in a French way, Dodon. It's a French town, and it's an indie game that came out on Xbox Game Pass last week. A terrific game. It's like a small point-and-click adventure a game from an independent developer, and looks a bit like watercolor made. It's just absolutely terrific. It's my style of game, so I'm doing that one. And then in addition to that, I hop into Apex, and play a bit of it. And obviously I'm playing Destiny 2 with a lot of content. So these are the current ones, and there is a list of other games that I'm kind of looking at and trying, but I tend to kind of stick to maybe 3 to 4 games at any given moment in time. One is a biggie, like a AAA blockbuster, then maybe 2 indie small ones which you can walk through and that don't actually take up a lot of time, and then you have one PvP game. And Apex for me at the moment is like the most enjoyable. I like Warzone as well. I got some news on Warzone in a moment, but I think Apex for me is really great fun. It's a game that's really well played with others, and I have a couple of teams that join me, so it's really good fun. We got to be selective at the end of the day, because the games take up time, and if you're a streamer, you don't have this sort of infinite number of hours. I was just having a look. Oh, thank you. Bear with me, I've got some messages there on chat. Zenith is gifting 1 tier 1 sub to Daniel Miller Gaming's community, so thank you so much for that, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, supporting the charitable fundraising and our community, much appreciated. Like I said, always any form of support is greatly appreciated, and this channel is all about our community. Everything I know about Destiny came directly from the Destiny community members, and as I was who was streaming it every single day for about 5 hours per day, I managed to connect with literally every one of those dedicated gamers. So it's interesting because I looked yesterday at some of our new community members, and I could see that several of our Destiny veterans are already connected to them through PlayStation activity. So it was incredible, because it tells you that there's a certain number of regular Destiny veterans who are both playing and watching the game on Twitch. And I've got to say, these numbers are not in thousands, I'd say probably between 300 to 600, and that would be the actual core of the Destiny 1 community that is still alive and active. And I'm very glad to see that people can actually make these connections directly through my channel. Also, I've just seen that Zenith has given a tier 1 sub to Ali, so we really want to be thanking Zenith for doing so. And we've just seen that Ali had just subscribed, and if we for instance look at the very top, the top is giving you the indication on the new members and people who are recently subscribed. So it's something new that I introduced to the channel since I resumed with my streams, and it is thanks to Stream Elements and Lightstream that this was made possible. So very grateful to these companies for providing us with the layout and overlays, and it's very nice to see the information displayed on the screen. Anyway, I talked quite a bit, so let's just crack on with some news, as we have our friend Zenith waiting for us, and I think Ali probably will join us. And probably as we carry on, I think later for our friends who are in the US and in Australia, New Zealand, it'll be easier because our friend Zenith is 5 hours back. So if we look at the time, so that would be, what is it, 3:10? It's by 9:30 in the US, so it's quite early. And our friend Ali, he would be, I think at the moment, 9 hours back, so that would be 6 in the morning. So he probably will pop in after 5 o'clock, and so it's well, maybe I'm incorrect. Correct me if I'm mistaken, Ali. I always keep thinking it's 9 hours back, but I know sometimes when I talk to the chaps in Wellington and in Sydney, they said it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So I can't easily pitch it. I can't easily remember. But I'm not checking it on my smartphone to see exactly what the time is. Just talking off the top of my head. Anyway, boys, let's see what we've got here in relation to the news. Well, a lot of news that came in today are Starfield related, and it's interesting, the news were coming out of an interview that Todd Howard was doing with one podcast and one of the streaming platforms, and he talked more about the way the game actually works with customization and everything else. So let me just give you all this information on Starfield first, and then we'll talk about Twitch, because Twitch yet again are coming up with something which is being monetized, and this new thing is going to be extremely unpopular, and they've taken it, they imported directly from YouTube, so you'll see what it is unless you already heard about it. So we heard from Games Radar today that Starfield's procedural planets will have randomized handmade locations, and so they had basically Bethesda try to plan around procedural planets always having something to do. So they said procedurally generated planets will have handcrafted on them and other things to do. So it's interesting. That reminds me of Mass Effect, I have got to say. You remember in Mass Effect they had planets that just required scanning and exploration. There weren't any major quests or tasks in there, and I felt this was a bit of a chore. I didn't really fancy doing it if there was, you know, no story-based activity on the planet, and then sometimes you had to scan the constellation because there would be Reapers coming in from somewhere, Reapers being the mortal enemy of humanity, and similar to what we have in Destiny with Darkness. So Todd Howard was on Kind of Funny Xcast, and he talked about these procedurally generated planets, and he said that they struggled with them early in the project, and they referenced the procedurally generated worlds, but reassuringly commented that the development team finally figured out how to pull them off. So he said it is procedural, so there is no way we are going to be able to go and handcraft an entire planet. So what we do is we handcraft individual locations. Some of those are placed specifically. It's all a bit of jargon, isn't it? Do you understand what he's trying to say? I don't really. And the director says, adding that main cities and other locations are deliberately placed and aren't left up to chance. I guess it's linked to the number of places you will be able to see on a planet. He says we have a suite of them that are placed when you land on that planet, so we'll be able to see them straight away. And now for us, we view it as when you're given a system, many of things you can do, like science. We are pushing about 10% of those planets have life on them. I guess this is all very complicated. We really want to see this in practice. He says we are pushing it to the limit of what planets are in those Goldilocks zones, and it's a moment when you land on some of these barren planets, otherwise hardly anything there, and again we will generate certain things for you to find on them. But if you look at a planet, you will see the resources it has, some things that you will want to have. That's similar to Mass Effect. You remember when we were grinding certain planets in Mass Effect 1 and 2 in order to get materials, and in this game, being obviously state-of-the-art next-gen game, there are going to be many more ways in which these materials can be sold, applied, used, and it'll be down to the developer to decide. You know, in Mass Effect, it was okay, but the joy of that game was exclusively in decision-making, decision-taking, and the overall storytelling and dialogue. All the other activities, like with shooting, and it was like an add-on for me. It wasn't the main thing, except maybe the major battles, right? As you're coming to the end game, but it's a different sort of game, I guess. But I'm curious to see what the similarities and differences are going to be, because Starfield will immediately have the aura of Mass Effect because of the galaxies, the planets, exploration, and everything else. So I'll be curious to see what the difference is going to be, first of all. He says that, well, he's quoting Buzz Aldrin, the astronaut who went to Moon. He said, and it's difficult from the designer's point of view, because you're generating too many abandoned bases or towers or things to find. It starts feeling too gamey. I agree with that, because I think in Andromeda we had too many of those empty bases, and it was unnecessary to go in there just to pick up something which is not particularly useful. We dialed that in pretty well depending on the planet you're on, he says, and it sounds really fairly tough, but he hopes that people are going to be enjoying it. But I still don't understand what he meant. Procedurally generated, what does that mean? He says Starfield's procedural planets will feature handcrafted locations, but only 10 will support life. Only 10%, I should say. So that will be exploring a barren wasteland on a planet where there's hardly any life. So it is very similar to Mass Effect. You remember the frozen planets? You would just drive and drive and drive that Mako, and then suddenly you find something, and it was you know, it was taking time. I think probably even more tedious is driving in Mass Effect Andromeda, because the vehicle in Andromeda is faster, but then the way the planet is designed, it gets stuck frequently in some holes where, yeah, the holes through it, from which you cannot get out of, and it's just really annoying. And I had serious problems with that several times. Obviously, the planets are frozen; they're very slippery, easy to fall in the hole, and a bit difficult to navigate the vehicle. So that was also one of my major complaints about Andromeda. Anyway, I'm talking Andromeda, obviously a different developer, but there are parallels between Starfield and Mass Effect. The other thing that I quite liked about Starfield that we heard today is that it will have 4 main romance options, and I quite enjoy romancing characters, right? So it's always good fun to be able to meet characters and then build a relationship. And with BioWare game in particular, I always try to romance my lead character with several non-playable ones, and I always ended up with a good romance. It was just always fun, you know. So at the moment I'm romancing the female lead in Andromeda with other female leads, some kind of a female NPC. So I'm quite curious to see what will come out at the end of it all, but you know, it surely will be fun. And what is said here is the Starfield romance options will be limited to 4 main characters, and he confirmed in that podcast that the 4 main constellation ones are the ones that support full quest lines for them and for romance. And he said no matter how many companions or Starfield crew are available, you are going to be able to romance just 4 rather than 8 or 10 or 20. Don't take this to mean that we can romance any 4 of our choosing, because he said he made it clear that only 4 predetermined characters in Starfield have full-fledged romance quests made for them. Well, thanks for the access to the internet, because we will find out very quickly on Twitter about those 4 characters, and we are going to be playing these 4 characters because we want to get the romance. It's as simple as that. It's really good fun. And elsewhere in the interview, he revealed that Starfield planets are procedural. Okay, we said that already. Yeah, that's all really about the romance and Starfield. News on Starfield as well. Just want to see what it was. Yeah, there is another thing about people who are in awe of the game and wanting to play want to do different kind of role play. And he said character creation system is designed to enable hundreds of hours of role play if you want it. It looked like really a game with fantastic customization, and I really kind of look forward to the game really when it comes out, to see how I'm going to be customizing my character or characters, whether they will suit my taste. And it seemed like very, very detailed. It actually did remind me of Anthem. Anthem had very detailed customization, and many people didn't bother to customize any of their 4 characters initially because they're so furious with the game. But I think that's a real shame. I think Anthem for me had the most detailed customization of any game I've played so far, because you literally could customize every single bit of your armor or anything that was on you, every single bit, and that kind of go down to a couple of screws. And I've seen with the showcase presentation of Howard's, they have exactly the same thing in Starfield, but it's even more detailed. So if you want to build your ship, you can actually build your ship accordingly, and that's really terrific. It's not like predetermined. You build a ship, you make that ship according to your own preferences and tastes. So he also said that he was actually asked how Starfield backgrounds and Starfield traits have evolved from the systems created for games like Fallout 3 and Skyrim, and he suggested that Bethesda had learned that 2 important factors are how those traits feel at the very start of the game and how they fit a character rather than a stats list. He says, we've done a number of games over the decades that have various character systems, and I think we've learned a lot in terms of how does it feel when you start a game. I agree with that, because the customization was quite good in the past and it just gets better. He said, what are those first choices like before you understand what the actual rules of the game are? And that's always tricky to get it right. That's very important, because you may create a character that doesn't really match the narrative, so it's just very important. And perfecting your build before you got a true understanding of the entire game is a permanent concern for any RPG fan. But how it says the team is also thinking about how the decisions you make at the start of the game will shape your character for dozens, if not hundreds of hours. Well, I guess the question is whether you can recustomize later, because obviously that would be more aligned with the narrative. You see that something does not really gel, you don't want to be starting from the beginning. I'm quite certain that this would be made possible. And he says, and how much depth does it have if you're playing for 20 hours or 50 or 200 hours, 500 hours? He says, I think we've hit a real sweet spot for Starfield, and we're giving you the flavor right out of the gate, where you are going to pick some starting Starfield skills with your background, but that also has flavor. People want to do roleplay, and they don't want to just do this as a list of numbers. So, for instance, he said, pick the example of a chef. If chef is your background, how will it actually affect what you're able to do in your own story, as opposed to simply affecting various stats? And he said, we saw some of that at play in the recent Starfield Direct, as a character with a hunting background was able to get a better fee on a quest to capture an exotic animal. Well, that's incredibly clever, isn't it? Because depending on what type of background you have, you will be able to excel in certain activities, and that also will make the game highly replayable. People will want to try the same activity on a different character, knowing that that character, like for instance this guy with hunting abilities, will get better scores. But that's just for completionists and hardcore gamers and people dedicated just to one game and nothing else. And I've got to say, I do have quite a few of those people in my community here. Like, our community has many gamers who are just dedicated to Destiny and nothing else. I will not name them, but I know who they are. And these chaps are a true Wikipedia of Destiny activity. It is extraordinary. And if I need something, if I can't work something out, I can always ping them a message. They'll always respond straight away. And in the past, we did have quite a number appearing both on the streams of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. So if you go back in time, you'll be able to dig up some of that information, and you'll be able to see what they taught us. And I will be bringing them in sometimes for our community-based sessions, because I do want the community-based sessions to be to learn from others with tips and tricks, and we've had quite a few that are not singled out as a special session at which people can learn from others. So we'll try to, I guess we try to make it a bit more streamlined, a bit more pronounced, similar to what I've done with my gaming for mental health, and also with the charitable fundraising campaign. So we make sure that people actually know from the outset when they come in that this is what we are doing in here. Okay, so that's all about Starfield, I think. The other news significant today, is that there's another one. I apologize. Obviously, I talk a lot about Starfield because this is the most hotly anticipated game of the year, maybe of the decade, and we all want to know everything about the novelties and whatever news come in, because the game is to be released in September, so that's only a couple of months away. He also confirmed in that interview that Starfield will not have a common open world feature that has been very, very popular in recent years. So that feature is fishing. There will be no fishing, and it's not really a surprise, because I guess they couldn't really fit it in, or there aren't any environments where this could be enabled. They also didn't want to do this because they see it as a current trend. You have seen fishing emerging in several games, inclusive of Destiny 2, and he wants to have the game that is, I guess, aligned with their predecessors, like for instance the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series, and he also wants to have something which is innovative, novel, interesting for the gamers in addition to that. So it'd be like the merger of the two, the old things from their series owned and copyrighted and created by Bethesda, as well as some of the other innovations. And he said that it's incredible how popular fishing video games actually become in recent years, and we did see that emerging in Red Dead Redemption 2, Diablo Immortal, Far Cry 5, and Destiny 2. So it's a trend, it's something people enjoy, and it is perfectly fitted in with the rest of the activities in those blockbusters. And in fact, while the base game does not support it, Skyrim Anniversary Edition's Creation Club content does add fishing to the open world fantasy game. I've got the add-ons, but I've not really tried them yet. What I've done for Skyrim is I had applied the mods that are making a bit of a kind of a mature appearance of the characters. So it's quite extraordinary that you keep getting you know, people differently dressed and mature looking, a bit more revealing, and they're sort of hooded with cloaks and with capes, and the whole environment changes. You know, you have a very different type of atmosphere straight away. So it's the mods on the Anniversary Edition are there for all the gamers to toy with and try them. You know, if you don't like them, you just switch them off and these characters disappear. And I thought maybe sometime we'll try some of it here, where people can see what these mods look like, because I have at least 50 to 70 community members who are huge, dedicated members of Skyrim community, Elder Scrolls community I should say, and played Skyrim very extensively, but they've not tried the mods, they've not seen what this looks like, so it'd be very interesting for them. And yeah, so that's all about fishing. Right, so we go back to Destiny. We'll start out with Destiny news today. They had given us a rundown on what is new this week in Destiny. So that's not in Destiny 1, it's in the sequel. And there are, first of all, Throne World Fishing Rally activity, Bungie Day Giving Festival, player support reports, Art of the Week, and Movie of the Week. And I'll tell you a bit more about it. Just bear with me a second. Why is I'm getting now on the secondary? Not what I wanted. Coming in, loads of messages of support contacting us saying they're really that we are supporting the charity. Well, I said funds. And then we have Eric Coronado, who had joined us on Instagram. Thank you, Eric. I really and your follow. And Derek also had joined us today with no, Eric, I beg your pardon, it's not Derek, it's Eric. Eric also joined us here on Twitch, so a new community member who is definitely a dedicated gaming industry and video gaming veteran. Great to see you here. Thank you very much for supporting us and for following us. And then we have Bitanar following us. We have a couple of other people as well, so that's really very, very good to see. And let's see, yep, that's right, that's excellent. Thank you for following us, much appreciated. Right, so they said if you missed something, last week we talked about Pride at Bungie 2023 recap, free emote. I've seen that, a nice little sandbox Q&A to dive a little bit deeper into some of the most frequent burning questions. Iron Banner is back with Eruption, fashion contest picks for Drowning the Drip, and then PlayStation times Destiny 2 crossover art roundup. So all of this indeed has been present last week, and hope you enjoyed it, hope you picked up that emote, and hope you supported that through Bungie. And then we have this week Throne World Fishing Rally. So they say they will be having a tip for everyone who's not found out yet. You may want to be visiting Hawthorne, so she is the first one to talk to, and we heard that her people found something in the fishing ponds in the Throne World. Go and spend some time there and see what bites. Remember, you got to catch them all. Have fun fishing, Guardians. So I think we'll do that if there is enough time today. We may do that today, and if not, we'll do it during the weekend. So definitely want to try this. Bungie Giving Day Festival, that is on the 7th of July, and they're very excited to welcome back the Bungie Day Giving Festival for its 4th edition. This year's campaign returns with some of their biggest incentives, prizes and surprises yet. So the festivities kick off on Thursday, July the 6th, that's in about 2 weeks, and there will be their first feature stream, and the fun rolls through July the 23rd. So yeah, it's going to be there for, what is it, 7, 10, 14 days or so. 16 days. There will be more ways than ever to get involved this year with the campaign, and stay tuned. So we'll try that. If we can, if we can participate, we'll probably bring it here to the stream as well. So that will be run for about 2 weeks, and Giving Festival, hopefully we'll be able to get something from it as well. And they have player support reports, and there are lots of issues in there, as every single week. I'm not going to go through this. And we have lots of information here on their blog and movie of the week. And they said there is a journey behind every blog post. If there was ever a more accurate representation of what that process is like, then they take everything seriously. And if you access the posting on Bungie's Twitter, you'll be able to get some clips and some further information. That's about it really with fishing. Fishing is the main thing, and fishing is the main thing of the season as well. We've heard that Callisto Protocol returns to PlayStation with the Final Transmission DLC. That includes the new kinetic hammer, new enemies and more. So Callisto Protocol is similar to Dead Space, and it's a fairly brutal kind of a space survival game. Don't know whether you played it, and very, very popular amongst the community members. I've not played it yet, but very curious and very interested to see what it's going to be like once it comes to the Game Pass, and will come to the Microsoft's streaming engine in the future. So we've heard from the head of Xbox, who said that the fans are deeply, deeply passionate about the console, and they really believe in us. They want everything that Xbox is offering to work so badly. I guess she's referring to the Game Pass services in particular. And she was also discussing the showcase and a few other fan responses. She said that even when things happen that are not in the way we wanted them to go, the passion, the reaction that you see in that is actually massive, and what we can see is their dedication and love for Xbox. They believe in us, they want it to work so badly, but I think I think the thing that is important to realize is it takes years and years and years to build the great games and build the type of portfolio that we got to share with you today. I agree with that. I think it's not an easy ride. It takes a long while for the gamers to feel connected to a particular platform, and I wouldn't say it's just Xbox. I think both consoles have been working hard on the build-up, and specifically they worked very hard on the games which are exclusives to them. As you've seen, Xbox had bought certain publishers and developers that indeed had become a member of the umbrella Xbox Game Studios community, and therefore there is quite a number of other titles on offer. But PlayStation, they resort to the similar sort of style, and they keep the exclusives out of the streaming services, the new ones that is. So there are obviously lots of titles and plenty to choose from. For myself, in terms of the overall social engagement and overall instant interactivity, Xbox is superior. I know that PlayStation are working on that with the app and other things, but it isn't as interactive, and the community is still not as socially connected, which I think is a huge shame. I don't know, maybe it's better in some other parts of the world, but certainly in Britain, I find the the layout of the forums and various other things to be not as good as the ones in Xbox. On Xbox, I should say, sorry. And Xbox Phil Spencer said that the console did not hit the bar of high customer expectation in 2022, and he also discussed the strength of the console during the showcase event. He said, "I knew that our first party was going to be strong. We have over 20 studios, and it was somewhat expected that they would get up to speed after COVID and get their products coming out. We knew the flow was coming out of both Bethesda and Xbox Game Studios, but he says, I'll be honest, I always feel like we have a lot to live up to. The expectation of our customers is extremely high. We know that we did not hit that bar in 22, and we wanted to make sure that we had a wonderful presentation. Well, the presentation was wonderful, and I think the number of titles that were introduced were definitely even they were raising the bar even higher. We are all very excited about Fable and all the other games, and we want to actually deliver. I think the bottom line is not when they come out, but whether the games are going to be as good. We did see some serious mishaps in the course of this year with Redfall in particular, which I think is disastrous. It's probably one of the worst launches that Xbox would have had altogether, and I don't understand really as to what the main reason for this is. Phil Spencer went live on air a few days later after the game was launched, and he basically wanted to own up everything by himself. He said, well, that is all down to myself, it's my fault, and I should have paid more attention to this and the other, and the team should have been really I guess monitoring the development and all sorts. But I'm not certain that that's exactly the case. It's there are other reasons that are not spoken about, because releasing that game is beyond ridiculous. The game is not really even at like an alpha stage. It's pre-alpha, and it's half-baked, and I've not tried it since they launched the major update that apparently was changing the game altogether and remedying some of the problems. But it's the concept that's troubling. There is so much to do. Maybe in a year or 2 years we'll get the full resolution to the problems, but I'm not 100% sure. Really, I'm not certain. And to be fair, I don't want to say anything about Redfall, because first of all I want to double check on the update. I want to see whether it delivered and whether the problems that I experienced are in any shape or form different. But I don't think that the update was going to resolve the absence of dialogue. You have so many characters who you can talk to in the game. They're non-playable characters, you can talk to them, and the dialogue is, oh, hi. That's not dialogue. It's ridiculous, so that and also no. It's a game of the magnitude, but our cutscenes. The cutscenes are so popular amongst people who play RPGs and story-driven games. It's just mind-boggling, and I know lots of these companies have huge financial pressures and that, but there's got to be a lot more attention given to it. Otherwise, what happens to you is like Napoleon syndrome: too many fronts at too many different locations, and everything just implodes or collapses because you're not paying attention to what's happening out there. You don't have many enough people to keep tabs on all the fronts, and all the battles are lost, the war's lost, and everything just falls up. That isn't going to happen to Xbox, but there could be some seriously unsavory deals materializing after such disastrous launches. Right, a bit more on the news. We've heard that the new Indiana Jones game will be a day one Game Pass drop. So that's really very good news for me, because I'm on the Ultimate. And just to put you into the picture, the new Indiana Jones film is going to be released worldwide within the next couple of weeks, and we are going to have also the game coming. I think it is. Yeah, it is, because there was a premiere the other day in the US, and we are going to be able to play the game, which I believe will be following the trail of the new film, and it is going to be accessible day one. So the game is published by Bethesda, and it was originally planned as a multi-platform release, but now is of course Xbox exclusive. And you've seen the big between Sony and Microsoft on the Microsoft's acquisition of Activision, and the deal which had not been passed in the EU, and all these other I apologize, I said something completely wrong. It had not been passed in Britain, and it had also some other obstacles erected in the US in recent weeks. But the management of Sony, they're very concerned about the fact that it's all about the exclusives, and it's like a long-term project that Microsoft obviously has in mind, and they're contesting it. And I guess this is one of the examples, because this game was originally mentioned as a multi-platform game, and it's going to go down the route of exclusives. But I think, to clarify, Xbox and Microsoft, we want to keep these games as exclusives for a certain period of time, and then later they will be released on other platforms. I guess everyone wants to get their hands on the game first on day one, because it's similar to the big AAA blockbusters in cinemas, right? Everybody wants to see what's being made within the first weekend. What happens 6 months or 15 months later is of no interest to anyone, and that's just the way the industry works at present. So they will be arguing the toss again and again, and we've seen that there is this FTC court hearing, and Heinz confirmed Bethesda originally had a deal with Disney to release its Indiana Jones game on multiple platforms. That would include PS5, but FTC revealed the deal was amended after the studio was acquired by Microsoft. And there's been a speculation about whether we'll see it on PCs and PlayStation, but as I said, this is very, very unlikely. So that's good news. What's the actual release date? Let me see. He's not actually placed the date in here, so I can't see. They're talking about the ruling in Britain and all these other obstacles which had taken place. Okay, so I told you already, freebie weekend up and running with those 3 games that you can access on Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold. Make sure that you play Conan. It has these mods which will make it very, very enjoyable. And there are 2 new games that have arrived to Xbox Game Pass yesterday. So that's NES, that is Need for Speed, and NFS I should say, Need for Speed Unbound, that is for client PC, Xbox Series X and S, and then we have also the Bookwalker, console and PC. Bookwalker I never heard of, but I've got to tell you, I was introducing it yesterday, it does sound like a really interesting game. It's all to do with various obsessions with books and reading, and there's a mystery attached to it. I obviously will not try to give you any spoilers, and just make sure you step in and try both of these games. If you are a great fan of driving of Forza, then obviously Need for Speed will be more than sufficient. We've heard that no, that's not it. I'm not interested in that. We've heard from BioWare about the Star Wars The Old Republic game, and there's been some concern that as they decided to engage another developer with the game and present them with the completed works, that perhaps the game will be shelved, that nothing will evolve from whatever's been said in the past. And they are just reassuring everyone today that the Massive Multiplayer Online The Old Republic is not heading into the maintenance mode, despite the shift to another developer, and they said that they are going to be giving it to a third-party studio because they really want to be spending more time, effort, energy and human resources on Mass Effect and Dragon Age new installments, which is understandable considering the problems they had with Anthem. And so the fans were obviously worried about this, but the executive producer said that's definitely not something people should be really very concerned about, and he said the actual release date would be 2024 or 2025, nothing about maintenance mode, and we are moving it to a third-party studio because it will allow us a lot more of creative freedom. Very much looking forward to the opportunities that will be opening to us. I mean, it's a jargon, but it's basically down to costs. They cannot afford to pay everyone or hire extra workers and staff to work on several games at once, because Dragon Age and Mass Effect are massive AAA blockbusters, and obviously with the Old Republic they want it to be on the similar sort of level, so they they simply don't have enough money or human resources to do everything at once. And as we know, the works on the other games indeed are already persevering, and they've been talking about these games already for a couple of years, so very, very curious to see what the games are going to be like, I have to admit, because I think, well, they're legendary in any way imaginable, and Andromeda is a very good game, but it does have its flaws, and I think the flaws primarily are down to the engine, similar to what we've seen with Anthem. I don't understand as to why they're using engine that is no longer going to be used for gaming, and trying to cut costs or what. If you played Andromeda, you'll see that some of the dialogue is perfectly framed, just like you would have had it in, well, stand corrected, similar to the trilogy, but it's not as good, even if it's at its best. And then the majority of it, which is more than 85%, is ridiculously poor. You have the lead character and other characters out of the frame, and it's just ridiculously poor. You listen to the dialogue and you can't even see the characters in the frame, and that's down to the engine. It's just ridiculous, and obviously it should have been completely uprooted and changed even before the release. I do not understand as to why they allow that to be, because it is like smack in the eye, considering how perfect framing there was in the trilogy, and particularly in the Legendary, because Legendary has been remastered and it looks really spectacular. And then you go to Andromeda and think, hang on a minute, who's worked on this game? This can't be a BioWare game. This is ridiculous. That's rubbish visually. And the game doesn't even look that bright or sharp or anything. It just seemed like an old-gen game. I find it incredible that two of the recent releases, Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, would have exactly the same problem, engine based. Why are you testing it? Why are you trying it? It's just, do the engine that is going to work, pay more money, make sure you have no technical problems on release. And I can just talk about this at length. We have news about E3. We've heard that E3 was cancelled this year because of all the other showcase events, and they apparently said that they'll be cancelling 2024 and 2025. And this is what the Los Angeles Tourism Department confirmed. However, we immediately had some response from E3 executives saying that this is not the case, because they've not really told anyone about what will be happening for 25. So what it did say, we appreciate and understand that the interested companies wouldn't have playable demos ready, and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. For those who did commit to E3 2023, we are sorry that we cannot put on the showcase you deserve and that you've come to expect from our event experiences. So obviously E3 for 2023 long gone, but their president, he said he would not be really drawn on any contacts for the future events. But I think, from what I gathered, if Microsoft, Sony, Bethesda, Capcom, all the other companies want to be running their own presentations in order to draw attention to products, then E3 is definitely sent to oblivion. The news that really had upset me today, and that really caused a major problem in the gaming community, is the news related to Call of Duty Warzone. And I'm not 100% sure what the news really mean, because the players reacted as if it basically scrapped, that Warzone will be no more. But I don't think that the original concept of Warzone will be gone. Obviously, from the day one, I played it from day one, and I was involved in the promotion of it and built a very, very good community attached to it. And we've had a situation where many gamers are dropping out due to some other maps introduced, because they much preferred the way things went in the past. I've not played it recently, and I've not talked to the members of my community, because if you had a during the pandemic, and we have gamers who were basically fighting against COVID pandemic and the liabilities and threats coming out of the lockdown to us all during the entire period of 2 years. So we've had fantastic fun, and we had many great matches and wonderful teams and a great squad and a clan, which we called it regiment in Warzone. So we've had really a lot of fun, and the activity was, first of all, highly interactive, very entertaining and greatly sociable, and it helped everyone to feel less alone, fully engaged and alive during the time where everybody else was suffering from the lockdown and isolation. So it was a fantastic, one of the best experiences of video gaming that I've ever had. And I did not continue as they began to introduce different maps and change things, because I didn't really like the other was ideal. And what we heard today is that the team at Activision wants to be focusing on future Call of Duty rather than Warzone. So just 3 years after its much heralded arrival, Activision is pulling the plug on the original Call of Duty Warzone. So the original concept will be gone, right? and they said the free-to-play Battle Royale shooter is set to go offline on the 21st of September. So I don't really understand what this means. Does this mean that the new Warzone will be attached to the big game, or is it that it's going to be scrapped altogether? Because people reacted to it on Reddit as if it was going to be scrapped altogether. So Call of Duty Warzone launched along Call of Duty Modern Warfare in 2020, but was renamed Warzone Caldera after the arrival of its similarly styled successor Warzone 2.0 last November. And I gotta say, I didn't like it. I tried it and it didn't really gel with me. The original concept was a lot better. So Warzone Caldera remained available in the months since then, meaning players have been able to continue using real money purchases, inclusive of skins, weapons available, etc. But now Activision signaled the end is in sight for the original experience, warning that all progression, inventories and online services will expire. Well, that will be absolutely, enraging everyone. Every gamer in my community will be livid because they're grinding and collecting and, and obviously they paid for things, right? They paid for all the cosmetics and all this. And all the progression inventories and online services will expire, which means they'll be gone. So you paid for it and you lose everything. It's ridiculous. It's a support. Teams can focus on future Call of Duty content. And regarding purchase content in Warzone Caldera, he said, from Modern Warfare 2019, Black Ops Cold War or Vanguard, that will continue to be accessible in those specific games. So what it means is the cosmetics you purchased for Warzone will not be deleted, they will be imported to these games, which are obviously games you need to purchase, right? And they will be useful and you can be applying them as usual, but obviously with Warzone disappearing, there will be no more future for them in that game. Although the original Warzone might be coming to an end, the Call of Duty Rumble Zone and Warzone 2.0 and Modern Warfare 2's fourth season of the content recently got underway, and a new mainline series entry expected to be titled Modern Warfare 3 is geared for release next year. So I'm confused. Is it that the Warzone will stop altogether, or is it it's going to be integrated? The way it's written is not clear, is it? But people reacted to it on Reddit as if the game was disappearing altogether. So, I don't know, we'll see. EVE Online's Excel integration is now live. So if you are a fan of EVE, and I certainly am, you need to check it out, really. And it's CCP Games. They told us that the official collaboration with Microsoft to bring Excel into the sci-fi massive multiplayer online EVE Online is ready. Excel spreadsheets are a popular way for players to manage the huge amounts of data gained whilst overseeing and expanding their space assets. So that is going to be part and parcel of the year-long roadmap for the game, and this is what they told us. So that's very good. So if you are a fan of EVE, make sure you get there as early as possible to double check this. We've heard about Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 yesterday, and there's more information coming in. The Konami confirms that games will be available separately, right? So it's going to cost £50. So for all of you who played Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation, etc., this is going to be definitely up your alley. And when first announced, the core games were Metal Gear Solid 1, 2 and 3, and later it was confirmed Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake would also be part of the collection. So the full list is Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, and that includes VR missions, special missions, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, that's HD Collection version, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater HD Collection version, Metal Gear NES FC version, Snake's Revenge. So it's a huge amount of content. If you're a fan of Metal Gear, you are going to be purchasing this remastered collection straight away. On top of that, the collection includes the Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 digital graphic novels, fully voiced digital comics depicting the events of the first two Metal Gear Solid games, which is really cool. And also the collection includes a screenplay book of in-game text and master book of story of characters for each game as something of a compendium, as well as a digital soundtrack for Metal Gear Solid. Last recording on the Switch version of announcement video strategy guides for each game will be included too. So that is simply a true delight for anyone who is a dedicated Metal Gear Solid veteran. And guess what? I'm one of those guys. I played Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation 1 at the time of its release many years back, and I'm definitely in. Talking about Hideo Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear Solid, Connecting Worlds documentary, which is called, well, I should say Hideo Kojima Connecting Worlds is the title of the documentary. That film premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival, and it follows the life and works of this wonderful, wonderful video game creator. And from the death of his father to the risk involved with Death Stranding, Connecting Worlds offers a glimpse at the auteur's life behind the scenes. The question is, who is Hideo Kojima really? So the creator and director of the Metal Gear Solid franchise and the 2019 post-apocalyptic sci-fi Death Stranding is hailed as one of the gaming industry's bona fide auteur directors. But however, active Kojima is on social media, where he often lets his cinephile flag fly. The life of the man remains mostly unknown. So this documentary, directed by Glenn Milner, is telling you the story of Kojima's, but he doesn't spend any real time at all diving into the fallout between Kojima and Konami, but is focused on the elements of his biography. So that's really cool. That is a documentary that I want to be watching. Xbox had confirmed that they had lost the consoles, and we've heard that from Phil Spencer during the presentation, and this was also reported by The Verge, but he did confirm that Phil Spencer, was it? Yeah, I'm trying to think whether it was within the presentation or I watched him recently. I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but it was part of Summer Game Festival or in another forum. He confirmed that they were basically number 3 platform rather than number 2 or number 1. Number 1 was Nintendo, number 2 was PlayStation, and number 3 was Xbox. And they said it's very curious for Xbox to admit these things in public, but they've got to be. You know, they've got to be, because this is the reality. And Xbox states that in 2021 it just had 16%. 16, that's 16% of the overall console sales. That is nothing. That's a huge loss. 84% would have gone to Nintendo and PlayStation. 16 would have gone to Xbox. I guess this is really looking at the global figures, because I think Xbox stands up quite well in the US. But it had just like 21% of the total console install base. Now this is around the world. The question is, Games Radar, whether this is just in the US. It isn't in the US. Xbox is the most popular console in the US, full stop. It's just the case. But globally, instead of looking at, you know, a population of 300 million, and I guess if you talk about 300 million, maybe 200 million will be gamers, compared to 8 billion people living worldwide and 4 billion gamers. So, you know, it's a different sort of story. Alright, so that's the stats. And then we have, what else do we have? Well, we don't have anything much more. We have just two more bits coming in. One is about Steam